Today we are going to use the quadratic formula to determine the real or imaginary roots of the quadratic function negative x squared plus 6x minus 50. In order to calculate the roots, we need to use the quadratic formula, which I have written off to the side. X equals opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. In order to utilize the quadratic formula, it is best to start out by first writing down your a, b, and c values of the quadratic function. So in this problem, our a value is going to be the number in front of x squared, which is just a negative sign, which we can imply is negative 1. Our b value is the number in front of x. So in this case, the number in front of x is just 6. Finally, our c value is always the constant, so the number being added or subtracted on that has no value. And in this case, it is negative 50. Once you have your a, b, and c values identified, you could go ahead and substitute the values in the quadratic function, so that we will have x equals the opposite of b, so the opposite of 6, which is negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, make sure you put parentheses around that, minus 4 times your a value, which is negative 1, and your c value, which is negative 50. You're going to take that and you're going to divide the whole entire thing by 2 times a. The next step you want to do in order to make simplifying easier is you want to substitute your whole entire discriminant, which recall is the step underneath the radical, so all of this, into your calculator exactly as you have it written. So I'm going to put parentheses 6 squared minus 4, parentheses negative 1, parentheses negative 50 into my calculator. And when I do that, it will all simplify to negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 164 divided by negative 2. Once I do that, I will need to simplify my radical further. The radical is the square root of negative 164. So I'm going to do that off to the side right here. Square root of negative 164. And the first thing I'm going to notice is that there is a negative sign underneath the radical. And whenever you see a negative sign underneath the radical, the first thing that you want to do is you want to pull out an I, so that this will become 164I. Once you have that taken care of, you can go ahead and simplify 164 by deciding what two numbers multiply to give you 164. You could use your calculator for assistance on this part. When I did that, I found that 4 times 41 gives me 164. I know that 2 times 2 gives me 4, and 41 is a prime number, so that cannot be broken down any further. Once you create a factor tree, you're going to look for all pairs. Looking here, I notice my only pair is this set of 2's. 41 did not find a pair, so that has to stay underneath the radical. So ultimately, the square root of a negative 164 will simplify to 2 radical 41i. So I could take what I just got here and I could substitute it in for square root of a negative 164, so that my new equation will become x equals negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root 41i, all divided by negative 2. The next important part is for you to see that you have two answers. You have negative 6 plus 2 root 41i over negative 2, and you also have negative 6 minus 2 root 41i over negative 2. when you have something where there is a denominator, what you could do is you could split up the problem so that it becomes negative 6 over 2 plus 2 root 41i over negative 2. We know that negative 6 over 2 simplifies to negative 3. I could also identify that 2 over negative 2 is going to simplify to just negative 1. So I could just put negative 1 square root 41i. That's one of my answers. My other answer will be basically the same exact thing, except for instead of a minus sign right here, it should be a plus sign. So as you can see, negative 6 over negative 2 minus 2 over negative 2. 1. The same thing that happened before will happen here. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 is 3. And negative 2 divided by negative 2 is plus 1, root 41 over I. There's a mistake over here. There should have been a negative. So negative divided by negative is positive. So your two answers will be x equals 3 minus root 41i and 3 plus root 41i. Those are two imaginary solutions. So if you were to graph this on your calculator, you would see that your parabola would never actually cross the x-axis.